Imagine standing in the center of a room so large you can't see the walls. Yet every person out there holds a remote control, clicking call, text, coffee, or favor at will. You're the only one who has to answer. We've all been there. Our calendars overflowing, our hearts wide open, our boundaries not just blurred, but erased. I'm Sarah Jax Roberts, and today I want to pull back the curtain on a secret that's been hiding in plain sight. Your time, your energy, your yes. It's finite and it matters. Too often we paint availability as the ultimate sign of generosity and strength. But what if I told you that in giving every ounce of yourself away, you're sacrificing the very power you need to create, to dream, and to love deeply? This isn't about building walls. It's about raising the drawbridge. It's about choosing who gets to cross into your inner kingdom and when. Because the moment you decide you don't have to be everyone's go-to hero, you ignite the spark that fuels your own greatness. So let's take a breath together. Close your eyes and feel the weight of always being there. Now imagine lifting that weight off your shoulders just for a moment. That's the freedom waiting for you on the other side of no. Today, we're going to learn how to wield that simple word with conviction, compassion, and courage. It's time to stop being available to everyone and start being present for yourself. Imagine waking up each morning to an invisible bank account brimming with 24 fresh hours. Hours you can't borrow against, no matter how dire the need. You awaken with the illusion of abundance, only to watch those hours dissolve into meetings, notifications, errands, and small talk you barely register. Somewhere between the first bleary glance at your phone and the moment your head hits the pillow, your day has slipped through your fingers like fine sand. When you stop treating each minute as precious, you surrender your most irreplaceable asset. Time isn't like money. You can't earn it back. You can't invest it for interest, and no ledger can track its value once it's gone. When you spend $1, you can refund a purchase. When you spend an hour scrolling, that moment is forever lost. Every second you allow to be claimed by someone else is energy siphoned from your dreams, your relationships, and the quiet moments that give life its depth. To treasure your time is to honor the only currency that truly defines your legacy. Guarding your hours requires the courage to recognize that your calendar is a statement of your priorities, not an open invitation for others' agendas. Picture your schedule as the walls of your own fortress. Each booked slot is a brick that declares your worth. What will you protect inside? Creative pursuits? Deep work? Genuine connection with loved ones, or simply breathing space to dream? If you don't decide, the world will fill the gaps for you, and often with obligations that leave you depleted. Begin by conducting a ruthless audit. Track how you actually use your time for 1 week, down to the 10-minute pockets between meetings. You might discover that committee calls bleed into your writing time, that commuting into the office stifles your morning clarity, or that social media snacks sneak into your lunch break, fracturing your focus. That audit is your treasure map, pointing to where your hours leak away. Only when you see the true picture can you plug the holes. With clear data in hand, map your priorities like precious gems. What activities move you toward your most meaningful goals? Which relationships inspire and uplift you? Which tasks are simply obligations you can delegate, defer, or decline? Assign a non-negotiable value to these top priorities. Guard them with the ferocity of a dragon defending its hoard. Let every other commitment find space around what truly matters, rather than displacing it. Transform your calendar into an ally rather than an adversary. Schedule your creative work or strategic planning at your peak energy times and reserve buffer zones before and after critical tasks to absorb delays. Block out sacred think time and protect it with an automatic decline for any intrusions. When someone asks to book your time, your calendar itself will respond, I'm sorry, that time is reserved. Your schedule becomes your boundary, lifting the burden of being the gatekeeper at every moment. Learn the nuanced art of saying no, because each yes is a yes to something else. The vision you have for your life, the rest you crave, or the bold project waiting to be born. Saying no isn't rejection, it's prioritization. It communicates value. My time is not freely available. I honor my own commitments. And in practicing that small, powerful word, you reclaim autonomy over your hours and redefine your relationships on terms that respect mutual. Cultivate daily rituals that reinforce your reverence for time. Begin with intentional morning routines that root you in purpose before the world demands your attention. Close your day with mindful reflections on how you spent your hours, celebrating what nourished you and learning from what drained you. These rituals stitch a red thread of consciousness through each day, reminding you that every moment counts and guiding you back when you slip into autopilot availability. Embrace the liberating practice of digital minimalism. Carve out regular intervals when notifications are silenced, email is closed, and the glowing screen doesn't dictate your attention. In those pockets of quiet, you allow your thoughts to breathe, your imagination to wander, and your priorities to crystallize. By resisting the tyranny of endless connectivity, you reclaim vast tracts of time previously surrendered to algorithmic demands. As you learn to treasure your hours, you'll notice a shift in your creativity and resilience. Tasks that once felt onerous gain clarity. Relationships deepen when you're fully present, and stress retreats as you master the rhythm of your days. You'll find that honoring your own time paradoxically makes you more generous with it, because you've chosen where and how you give rather than pouring it out indiscriminately. Your time is the single resource that shapes the architecture of your life. How you allocate it determines whether you're building something of enduring value or simply filling a ledger with busy work. When you treasure your time, you stake your claim on the experiences, achievements, and connections that define your highest self. And you refuse to let the noise of everyone else's demands drown out your own life's purpose. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean of requests, each wave crashing against your shore with the same insistent roar. Someone needs your time, your energy, your empathy. If you don't raise a barrier, you will be submerged by expectation. Establishing firm boundaries is not an act of selfishness. It is a declaration of your own sovereignty. When you draw a line in the sand and refuse to let anyone cross without your permission, you demonstrate that you value yourself as much as you value others. Begin by recognizing that every relationship in your life is governed by unspoken rules, and you have the power to rewrite them. Think of boundaries as the foundations of a house. Without solid footings, the walls will collapse under pressure. When you define what behavior you will accept, whether it's how colleagues email you after hours, how friends make last-minute demands, or how family members assume your availability, you construct a protective frame around your well-being. The first step is to cultivate unshakable confidence in your right to say no. Notice how your voice wavers when you hesitate and how your posture slumps when you yield. Confidence is not arrogance. It is the steady belief that your needs matter. Practice standing tall with shoulders back and chin lifted even before you speak the words. Let your physical presence reinforce the message you are about to deliver. You are not someone to be taken for granted. Next, become fluent in the language of boundaries. Simple, clear phrases like, I'm not available then. I'll pass on that. Or I have other commitments carry far more weight than rambling explanations. Explain only as much as you feel comfortable sharing. Your boundary is not an invitation for debate. If someone pushes back, repeat your statement calmly and without apology. I'm not available. and then wait. Silence conveys that the request has been fully addressed. It helps to visualize your boundaries before you ever articulate them. Imagine a glowing shield surrounding you, impervious to guilt and insecurities. When a request approaches, envision it bouncing harmlessly off your shield rather than penetrating your core. This mental rehearsal builds resilience. The next time someone tries to breach your perimeter, you'll find it easier to hold firm. Of course, boundaries feel alien at first, both to you and to those around you. You may hear gasps of surprise or encounter passive aggressive reactions. That discomfort is the sound of old patterns breaking apart. Remember that you are not responsible for how others adjust to your new limits. Your only responsibility is to maintain them with unwavering consistency. Choose your priorities and align your boundaries accordingly. If deep work fuels your creativity, block out distraction-free hours on your schedule. If personal downtime replenishes your spirit, refuse invitations that cut into your recharge time. If emotional energy is precious, limit the frequency of venting sessions or slightly shorten their duration. Every boundary you set should protect the activities and relationships that uplift you. Make boundary settings a ritual. At the start of each week, review upcoming commitments and ask yourself, does this align with my values? Does this propel me toward my goals? Does this leave room for rest? If the answer to any of those questions is no, remove the obligation or renegotiate its terms. Treat your calendar like the sacred text of your life's priorities. Learn to anticipate boundary challenges. Some people will test your resolve because they've grown accustomed to your acquiescence. When that happens, remember that repetition is your ally. You may have to say no 5 times before it finally registers. Each repetition chips away at the old habit of saying yes to everyone and everything. With each firm refusal, your confidence crystallizes. Cultivate a supportive inner dialogue. Whenever you feel guilty or doubt yourself, remind yourself, boundaries protect my well-being so that I can show up stronger, calmer, and more generous. Your self-talk should affirm the importance of your limits, not question them. Over time, that affirmation will become second nature and guilt will lose its grip. Celebrate small victories. Every time you decline a social obligation that drains you or leave work on time despite attempting extra assignment, you affirm your boundary. These victories accumulate, building a foundation of self-respect. And as you honor your own limits, others learn to respect them too, adjusting their expectations accordingly. Boundaries also extend to your digital life. Silence your notifications during focus sessions. Archive group chats that derail your attention and set clear do not disturb hours. Technology should serve you, not enslave you. By enforcing digital limits, you reclaim vast swaths of uninterrupted mental space. Understand that setting a boundary is sometimes a repeated process of renegotiation. People may beg, bargain, or express hurt feelings. Listen with empathy, but do not let it sway you from your commitment to your own welfare. You can acknowledge their perspective. I hear that this is disappointing for you while still upholding your decision. Over time, your boundaries will become respected landmarks in your relationships. People will come to understand when you are truly unavailable and when you choose to be present. That clarity fosters deeper trust because others know exactly what to expect. Paradoxically, the more you protect yourself, the more generously you can give when you choose to engage. Establishing firm boundaries is not a one-time event, but an ongoing practice. Your needs change and your limits should adapt accordingly. Regularly check in with yourself. Are your current boundaries serving you, or do they need to expand, contract, or shift? Treat boundary setting like tending a garden, where occasional weeding and pruning ensure continued growth. Your unwavering confidence in your own limits is the cornerstone of a life lived with intention. When you reclaim your right to say no, you reclaim ownership of your time, energy, and emotional resources. You become the architect of your own life, choosing which structures to build and which to dismantle. And in that space of self determination, your most authentic and powerful self emerges to shape the world on your terms. Imagine standing at a crossroads, each path lined with urgent pleas, friends asking for favors, colleagues requesting late night revisions, family members assuming you'll drop everything at a moment's notice. Each request feels like a gentle tug, yet beneath that softness lies a powerful undercurrent that can sweep you away. Your instinctive need to say yes. But what if the most transformative act isn't adding another obligation to your plate, but releasing one? What if, in declining, you unlock a reservoir of calm, clarity, and creative energy you never knew you had? Learning to harness the power of no is not about rejection or selfishness. It's about honoring your own priorities and reclaiming the freedom to choose how you spend your most precious resource. When you utter that small two-letter word, you do more than refuse a single request. You broadcast a profound message about your self-worth. Each time you decline, you reinforce the belief that your commitments deserve respect, that your calendar is not a public bulletin board, but a sacred record of what matters most to you. Yet for many of us, saying no feels like a violation of unspoken social contracts. We worry about hurting feelings, about being labeled difficult, about missing out on opportunities. To transform no from an act of anxiety into a tool of empowerment, you must first rewire your relationship with refusal itself. Notice the familiar pang of guilt when you consider turning down a request, and ask yourself whether that guilt serves you or simply keeps you trapped in overcommitment. Begin by practicing no in low stake situations so that when the true test arrives, the word flows without hesitation. If a telemarketer calls during dinner, answer with a calm, "No, I'm not interested," and hang up. When an email arrives asking for your spare weekend to volunteer at yet another event, reply with, "Thanks for thinking of me. I'll have to pass this time." Notice how your body responds. Does your spine straighten? Does your breath deepen? With each small victory, you build neurological pathways that make refusal feel less threatening. Over time, refusing the trivial prepares you to stand firm when the stakes are higher. Saying no is an act of clarity. It creates space where distraction once thrived. Imagine receiving dozens of invitations only to watch your calendar vanish under a flood of shoestring commitments. Now imagine your week with only the appointments that align with your deepest goals. Time reserved for creative work, exercise, nurturing relationships, or quiet reflection. Every no carves away unnecessary clutter from your life, allowing you to focus on the people and projects that fuel your passion. As you practice, you'll find that the more you refuse, the more you receive. Invitations and opportunities that genuinely matter begin to gravitate toward you as if drawn by the magnetism of your clear priorities. Yet, the true transformation lies not merely in preserving time, but in cultivating self-respect. When you honor your own boundaries by saying no, you affirm that your needs and aspirations are valid. You give yourself permission to protect your energy, to invest in your dreams, and to rest without guilt. That sense of self-regard ripples outward, reshaping your relationship. Friends and colleagues learn that your time is precious and will think twice before making demands. They come to appreciate your presence all the more when you do say yes, because those yeses are deliberate and meaningful. Of course, wielding the power of no gracefully requires nuance. A curt or dismissive refusal can leave others feeling undervalued, even if your boundary is justified. To bridge firm resolve with empathy, pair your no with brief acknowledgement. I appreciate you thinking of me, but I won't be able to join this project. You don't owe long explanations or apologies. Those only muddy the clarity of your decision. Instead, accept that some relationships will adjust. Those built on mutual respect will endure, while others may wither under the light of your newfound assertiveness. And that is precisely the point. By refusing requests that undermine your priorities, you make room for deeper, more balanced connections. Learning to say no also transforms your inner dialogue. Notice the internal chatter that frames refusal as a moral failing. What if they hate me or I'm supposed to help? When you catch these thoughts, challenge them. Refusing one request doesn't make me a bad person, it makes me a person with standards. Replace guilt with curiosity about what you're preserving by saying no. Whether it's time for self-care, focus for a major goal, or simply an unhurried evening. Over time, your inner critic loosens its grip, and the word no becomes synonymous with self-respect rather than selfishness. The effects ripple into every arena of your life. At work, mastering refusal leads to more impactful outcomes. You decline peripheral tasks and dive deep into the projects that set your soul on fire. Socially, you reserve weekends for genuine connection rather than last-minute errands. Emotionally, you guard your well of empathy so that when friends do need you, you have the capacity to offer real support instead of drained acquiescence. Physically, you protect the hours of sleep and movement that sustain your well-being. In each domain, no emerges as the architect of a balanced, purposeful existence. Moments of indecision, ask yourself whether saying yes will draw you closer to your vision or divert you from it. If the request aligns, proceed with intention. If not, practice the art of letting go. View no as an act of generosity to yourself, an opening for fresh possibilities rather than a door slammed shut. Celebrate each refusal as a step toward a life guided by choice. And with each no, you reclaim not just your time, but your power to shape a life that reflects your highest values and deepest desires. Imagine waking each morning to the quiet hum of possibility, your priorities waiting like constellations in the sky, ready to guide your path. But without a clear channel for your energy, those stars blur into a distracting cosmic swirl. Your focus fractures, and the most important tasks lose their gravitational pull. To channel your energy into your highest priorities is to turn that swirl into a laser beam, precise, fierce, and unwavering. So begins with clarity. Name the one or two goals that, if achieved, will move your life forward in the most meaningful way. Treat them as non-negotiable missions worthy of your fullest attention. Once your North Star is identified, conduct an honest audit of where your energy actually goes. Track your days for 1 week. Note the tasks that leave you buzzing with purpose and those that drain you into a haze of fatigue. You might uncover surprising leaks, a habit of scrolling through social media feeds, routine obligations that no longer serve you, or even well-meaning conversations that deplete your mental reserves. Chart these findings like a map, marking the vibrant oases and the desert stretches of low energy. That map becomes your guide for rerouting effort toward what truly matters. Next, align your tasks with your natural energy rhythms. Observe whether you surge with creativity in the early hours or find clarity in the evening calm. Reserve your peaks for the weightiest priorities, drafting that proposal, deepening your craft, or strategizing your next big move. During your valleys, tackle routine tasks, email triage, quick administrative work, or light plan. When you sync your schedule with your body's inherent cycles, you transform each hour into fertile ground for high-impact work rather than draining sand that shifts beneath your feet. Craft rituals that signal the transition into priority mode. Before you begin your most important task, perform a short prelude. Close your inbox, stretch your body, or play a brief piece of music that stirs focus. These rituals act like switch levers in your brain, flipping the state from scattered to intentional. Over time, the mere act of touching your notebook or donning a pair of noise canceling headphones triggers a neural pathway primed for deep engagement. Rituals eliminate friction between desire and action, making the channeling of energy almost automatic. Eliminate or delegate non essential work ruthlessly. For every task on your plate, ask, is this the best use of my energy? If the answer is no, find someone else to own it or automate it out of existence. Outsourcing decodes the message that your energy is a limited asset, and each redirection increases the flow toward your priorities. Say yes only to what aligns with your North Star. Everything else becomes a candidate for removal. This lean approach creates a clear conduit for your creativity and drive to surge unimpeded. Batch similar tasks to minimize context switching. Shifting between different types of work carries a hidden cognitive cost. Each switch demands time for your mind to reorient. Group phone calls together, stack brief meetings back to back, and carve out uninterrupted blocks for deep work. Within those blocks, shield yourself. Turn off notifications, close distracting tabs, and let colleagues know you are unavailable except for emergency. Batching concentrates your energy into sustained bursts rather than fragmented dribbles, enabling you to dive deeper and resurface with greater accomplishment. Nourish your physical and mental reservoirs to maintain a steady flow of energy. Prioritize sleep, movement, and balanced meals. Each forms the bedrock of sustained focus. Between intense work sessions, take short breaks, step outside, breathe deeply, or sketch a few lines in a journal. These pauses reset your cognitive machinery, preventing burnout and preserving the clarity needed to tackle high priority tasks. When you tend to your body and mind with the same care you apply to your ambitions, you ensure that your energy remains a consistent current rather than a flickering flame. Use schedule reviews to recalibrate and reinforce focus. At the end of each day, reflect on what moved your priorities forward and what sapped your strength. At the end of each week, revisit your biggest goals and adjust your plan based on progress and new insights. These reviews are checkpoints on your journey, ensuring that your effort remains aligned with your evolving vision. They also allow you to celebrate small wins, moments when your energy hit the mark, and to learn from missteps where you veered off course. Build accountability into your process. Share your highest priorities with a trusted friend, mentor, or coach who can check in on your progress. Verbalizing your commitments crystallizes them in your mind and brings an external source of encouragement when your motivation wanes. When you know someone else is watching over your energy investments, you're more likely to guard them zealously, directing them toward the goals you've declared most vital. Above all, remember that energy is an ecosystem, not an unlimited resource, guarded as you would protect a rare ecosystem in the wild. Recognize the patterns that nourish it and the disturbances that threaten it. By consciously channeling your energy into your highest priorities, you become the architect of your own momentum, sculpting each day with intention and precision. In doing so, you ensure that every ounce of your effort drives you closer to the summit of your ambitions rather than dissipating in 1,000 negligible directions.